Welcome to this week's episode of Marketing Home, Marketing You. I'm your host, Barbara Savona of Sprout Marketing, and I'm so happy you're here. We're going to have some fun today. Before we dive into this episode that is for our leasing professionals, I just want to remind you, make sure to hit that subscribe button so that you never miss an episode. And if you want to have some fun, follow along with us at Sprout Marketing on Instagram. That's where I'm most active. So today we're digging into a technique, a skill set that once you have it, you're going to see your leasing numbers go way up. You're just going to feel more confident leasing. You're going to feel more comfortable in your craft. And I have to tell you, I love talking about this because this skill serves me even to this day. I'm not leasing apartments anymore and I still use it. What am I talking about? I'm talking about closing techniques. Once you get comfortable with your style of closing, you are going to be unstoppable, I promise. So what I thought I'd do today is I'd share a few closing techniques that worked for me. Now, again, it's not a one size fits all. I really think it has to match your personality and you make it your own. But I thought this would be a really good jumping off point. So I'm going to share a couple of pre-closing. I'm actually going to share one pre-closing technique that I loved, and then I'm going to share 3 closing techniques that I found myself alternating through most of the time, depending on who I was talking to. And again, these are just samples. They're just ideas. And I'm taking them from our Leasing Blueprint. That's the handbook that we created for leasing professionals. You can check it out at shopwithsprout.com. But for now, let's get started with these techniques that are going to make you feel more comfortable with closing the sale. Are you ready? Let's go. Okay, so I've got my leasing handbook. You guys can see it here, and I'm going to open up to the closing technique section. So this book was actually created because I wished that I had had it when I was a leasing professional, and now you can too. So this is the trial close questions, and the trial close to me is the pre-closing technique. This is where you kind of feel out the situation as you're going along in the presentation. You're not waiting till the very end. So what I'm talking about is as you're touring and you're getting and building that rapport and you see that maybe they like things or they're just kind of being very thoughtful about what they're looking at, you stop and you ask, so far, what is your favorite thing about this apartment? Or could you see yourself living here? Or if you're touring the amenities, which amenity is most important to you? Which one stood out the most? These are little questions that you're going to sprinkle throughout your presentation just to help you get the temperature. You know, obviously if they tell you that they hate the apartment and they can't see themselves living there, you're going to have to pivot, right? It's not the right spot, maybe it's not the right apartment or the right community. But I like these because we're not springing a close on them just cold at the end. This is just, again, we're feeling that pulse and then we're adjusting our presentation as needed. So I want you to try to use the trial close questions. Again, throughout the presentation, not all at once, just as it makes sense. The first official close that I want to start with is the assumptive close. I know you've probably heard of this. It might seem like the most forward close, but there is a very specific time to use this close. When you've had a great tour and they've been very positive about what you've shown them, maybe they've had objections, but you've been able to overcome them to their satisfaction. And again, they've affirmed everything that you're saying. The assumptive close makes the most sense. And this might require a real mindset shift for some people. We might feel a little awkward or uncomfortable asking for this sale because we might feel, oh, they're doing me a favor by filling out an application. And I want to stop you right there. You think about it, they're looking for a new home. You as a professional has helped pair them. You've aligned what their needs are with the right home. And again, it's been affirmed by their responses. Once there's a confident match there that you've got the right home for the right person, the next step is to go back and fill out paperwork to secure that home. That's not them doing you a favor. That's the next step in the sales process that makes sense if that is the right home for them. So when we shift that mindset, we're helping them find home and we found it. Now we don't want them to lose out. It really changes our perspective. So the assumptive close, you can modify it based again on your personality. But if it was me, I would say something like, Gina, it's been so good getting to know you. It seems like we found the perfect place. We can now go back to the office. We can fill out the paperwork, the application. I'll walk you through it. It only takes a few minutes. And this way we can secure your new home. That's my style. You're going to make it your own, but don't be nervous. The assumptive close is one of the most powerful closes. You don't have to beat around the bush. You don't have to get like nervous or make weird gestures. It's just the natural progression. And a lot of times we get in our own way. So try the assumptive close this next week and see if it doesn't help you get a little bit quicker to closing the deal. Another favorite close of mine is the think about it close, and it's probably not what you're thinking. So I'm not wanting them to go think about it off-site. A lot of times what I would do is I'd have a great tour with somebody and then they'd say, oh, I need to, my husband and I are going to go to lunch and we're going to talk about it. And that's okay. Some people, that is their decision-making process. But what I realized is if I could get them to think about it while they were still at the community, where I could still play a meaningful role in their decision, it was even better. So I really love this one, especially when it's more than one person touring a group of people, roommates, a husband and wife, boyfriend and girlfriend, whatever it is, or even with an individual. So let's say that they're touring and you're seeing that they're kind of looking at it. Now, again, they've shown real interest. They seem to be opening up cabinet doors, drawers, whatever. They're really looking at things. They're asking questions. They're engaged. Then I might pause while we're in the unit and I might say something like this. I know that picking out a home or where you're going to spend the majority of your time is a really big decision. So I want to step outside and let you get a real feel for this space. I want you to be able to really think about how you can make this home. And I'll come back in a few minutes and answer any questions you guys might have or you might have. Again, off the cuff, that is how I would position that close. So you might think about it as it's not a super solid or super pushy close. This is a little bit ahead of time where you're really just saying to them, look, I know it's a big decision. I want you to think about it. But subconsciously, I'm saying I want you to think about it here in the apartment, in the community. What happens is many things can happen. When I was a leasing agent and I would do that, I'd step outside and I would wait until maybe I heard laughter or heard them talking a little bit or more commotion, and I'd walk in and just say, well, it seems like you guys really like this place, or what did you think? Or is there anything else that I can answer for you? That gives me the opportunity at that point to answer any questions, overcome any objections, and really then go to the next one, which would be the assumptive close. So if I'd come back and they have some questions, that's basically opportunity to overcome them. But if they're telling me, no, we really like it, we think we could see ourselves there, then I would go into assumptive close. And that's what you'll see. A lot of these closes, you're not going to just use one, you're going to piggyback them off of each other. Even with the assumptive close, say that they say, well, I'm not really sure, blah, blah, blah. You can bounce back to, let me give you a little time in the space to think about it, and I'll come back in a few minutes. It's amazing how you can use multiple closes to get them to the finish line. Okay, you ready for the next one? A third close that I love because it holds so much weight is a testimonial close. So most of the buyers that are coming in are prospective renters. They're coming in very educated. They've looked at our website, maybe our social media, they've read reviews. Now they've come in. So they're already one step closer to becoming a renter because they're coming in educated. But if I can share additional testimony from other residents, they're going to really hold that in a high weight, because if I'm just telling them how great our community is, which we should, I'm also, they're going to think I'm biased because I'm the salesperson, right? I'm the leasing professional. With that said though, with testimonials, it's outsiders, it's peer reviews of your community. So you're going to have to prepare ahead of time. You might want to have some of these testimonials framed in your model unit, or you might want to carry some with you in a nice, looking folder. It can be part of your blueprint. And as you're touring and as you're in the inside of the apartment, you might say something like, again, I know that, selecting a home is a really big decision. I don't want you just to take my word for it. I'd love to share with you some of the reviews or some of the testimonies from our current residents. It's really powerful if you use current testimonials. So longtime residents that don't mind having a testimonial, and you share some of those words, and I say, oh, this is Mr. Block from Unit 212. He's been with us 5 years. Here are some of the things that he said. And here's so-and-so from Unit this, and here's how long they've been with us, and here's how they feel about our community. This is social proof, but it's also showing that you, as part of the leasing team, as part of the management team, you know your residents, you're invested, you've got a personal relationship. It shows you really care. Guys, this can be a huge differentiator. And again, piggyback it. You do the testimonial, and then you say, do you have any questions or any thoughts on that or anything like that? And then you can go into an assumptive close. So that's your third one that you can keep in your tool belt, ready to bust it out when it makes sense. So I've shared with you one pre-closing technique and then 3 sample closes. Inside of the leasing blueprint, There's actually 7 closes that you can use. And what's really cool is we've got them in little cards that you can cut out and you can use them, or you can use them in your notebook. And what I would recommend is try them on for size. See how different closes work with different people. The more comfortable you get, you're going to get to know, okay, this is the right time to use this close. And the more closes, the better, because people are all different. They shop different, they buy different, they make buying decisions differently. So the more that you have to be adaptable, like I said, these guys, they work with each other, they feed off of each other, and they work for different personalities. So again, you can get your copy of the Leasing Blueprint at shopwithsprout.com. And you can also see more about this episode at marketinghomemarketingyou.com. Look for this episode specific to leasing and try out these closes. I'd love to see how they work for you. Okay, guys, I hope this helps. I'm excited to hear how your closing increases. And as always, I'll see y'all next week for a new episode of Marketing Home, Marketing You.